Welcome to this topic, um, excretion. So the way this topic is going to be delivered, we're going to start with introduction. Then from there, we'll take a look at the kidney. Then we'll also take a look at kidney failure. So excretion is just the removal of toxic metabolic waste products from the bodies of living organisms. So the keywords that you shouldn't forget when defining excretion are toxic, meaning that these products are harmful to the body. Metabolic, they come from chemical reactions. Metabolism just means chemical reactions that occur in the body. Don't forget, metabolism is made up of catabolism and anabolism. Then waste products, meaning that they are produced by chemical reactions, but they are not needed in the body, so they're supposed to be thrown outside the body. The biological term to use is excreted outside the body. Okay, that's what excretion is all about. So the product of excretion are called excretory products. Well, the organs used to remove them are called excretory organs. So I've got excretory organs removing these substances that are not needed by the body, called excretory products. So we're going to focus our attention on excretion in mammals. Later we'll look at excretion in plants. So the main excretory organs and products of a mammal are summarized in the following table. So in this table, we have here the excretory organs, here the substances that are excreted. So the first excretory organ is the kidney, which excrete urea or urea as it is pronounced, excess salts and excess water. In short, urine. So urine is made of urea, excess salts and excess water. Then this, by the way, this teaching is going to be focused on the kidney, and the next video will be a combination of kidney and excretion in plants. Then for the skin, we're going to discuss it on a different topic, and the lungs we already discussed during gaseous exchange, so there's no need to talk about how the lungs excrete carbon dioxide. Then we also have the liver, which we discussed on nutrition in mammals, where we talked about bile pigments. So bile pigments are an excretory product from the liver. So we won't go back to the liver, the lungs. We're just going to concentrate on the kidney. The skin, we're going to study it later. So the kidneys are part of a system called the excretory system, which is also called the urinary system or the renal system. In this video, I'll be using the word renal system. It is easier to pronounce for me as compared to excretory system. So I'm going to be using renal system, but it means the same. So this is a simple structure of the renal system. So this renal system is connected to the bladder. This is the bladder. It is also part of the renal system. Then there are two blood vessels which go to the heart. Okay, so what happens is blood comes from the heart through the aorta. Remember, the aorta is the vessel that transports blood to the rest of the body. So aorta is the vessel that transports blood to the rest of the body. So as blood is coming through the aorta, remember, at high pressure, it will go into the kidney. Then the kidney will make sure that this blood, the kidneys are going to make sure that they remove the excretory products from the blood. Then once the excretory products are removed, the blood will go back through the by the way, the aorta takes blood to the kidney using this tube here called the renal artery. Okay, then from the kidney, when the blood has the excretory products removed from it, blood will go back through the renal vein, but it won't go back to the aorta. It goes back to the secretory system, where it joins to the vena cava, and the vena cava takes it back to the heart. Okay, so That's the mechanism here. So remember what we discussed about the heart, where the vena cava takes the blood and where the aorta takes the blood from, the four chambers of the heart. So you should be able to picture the heart somewhere and how they are connected. So the main point here is blood comes through the aorta, then uses the renal artery, which is connected to the aorta. Then the kidney acts as a filter. It removes all the waste products. Then blood joins the vena cava through the renal vein. Then it goes back to the heart. Okay, so these waste products that are going to be in the kidney are going to be transported through these two tubes called ureter. So the ureter is going to take the waste products into the bladder. Okay, so this waste product is now can be called as urine. Okay, so this urine, of course, it will be in the bladder till it's ready. It will be here just for a temporal storage. So there are these muscles called urethra sphincter muscles, which make sure that urine does not come out without you allowing it to come out. Okay, so it opens to allow urine to come out, and it closes to make sure that urine does not come out. So then urine will pass through the urethra, which in male is also a passage of semens, but in female it's just urine. So this is the structure of the renal system. So let's take a look at the function of parts of the renal system. I've explained, but let's now just go through each of them so that you are also able to see in words. In that way, they might stick. So the renal vein carries deoxygenated blood away from the kidneys towards the vena cava. I won't talk about the aorta and the vena cava because those are not part of the renal system, but they are part of the circulatory system. But the renal vein is part of both. So it carries the oxygenated blood from the kidney towards the vena cava. The renal artery does the opposite. It carries oxygenated blood from the aorta to the kidneys. Then the ureter transports urine from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. Then the urinary bladder acts as a temporal storage of urine. Then we have the urethra sphincter muscles, which control the flow of urine out of the urinary bladder. Then we have the urethra, which is just the passage through which urine leaves the body. In males, like I said, it is also the outlet for semen. Then the kidney, now what is its function? It wasn't mentioned here. So the function of the kidney is to remove urea, excess salt, and excess water. So it's not just to remove salt and water, but to remove excess salts and excess water from the body and form urine. That's the job of the kidney. So let's take a look at the structure of a kidney. So this is basically the structure of a kidney. It has the ureter, then it has the medulla, then just between the medulla and the ureter there is the pelvis, then outside there is a cortex. So the basic functional unit of the kidney is the nephron. What does this mean? It means the kidney is made of smaller units that do the actual job called the nephron. Okay, so we're going to start the nephron. Once you understand the nephron, then you understand how a kidney works. So we look at the structure of a nephron. So this is the structure of a nephron. To understand its working, we need also to understand its function. So its function, of course, is to remove those waste metabolic products from the blood. It does this by making sure that the treatment of the fluid that comes from the blood undergoes through 4 processes. So it starts from here. So blood is going to come from the renal artery at high pressure going into this structure called the glomerulus. So as blood is flowing through the glomerulus at high pressure, because of this high pressure, some of the blood is going to seep into this shape called the Bowman's capsule. This acts like a filter, and this process is called ultrafiltration. filtration. Okay, so sometimes it is called pressure filtration. Why? Because the filtration occurs under high pressure. Okay, so the high pressure comes from the fact that blood comes from the aorta through the renal artery, and blood from the aorta is pumped at high pressure. So that pressure will force some of the components of blood to seep into the Bowman's capsule. Okay, the other reason is the structure of the glomerulus itself. So on one side it is wider than the other side. The wider side is called the afferent end, then the narrow side is called the efferent end. So the rate at which blood comes is greater than the rate at which blood escapes. Or in short, the amount of blood that comes is more as compared to the amount of blood that is leaving. Okay, so because of that, there is a buildup of pressure here, which makes some of the components of blood to slip into the Bowman's capsule, to be filtered into the Bowman's capsule. But these components which go into the Bowman's capsule are small. So we're talking about urea, we're talking about water, we're talking about salt, okay, and other components. These ones are going to pass into the Bowman's capsule. Okay, but components like red blood cells cannot pass through, white blood cells cannot pass through, platelets cannot pass through. So during ultrafiltration, smaller components like urea, glucose, water, and salts are going to pass through, and they'll be in the Bowman's capsule. Okay, so once ultrafiltration has occurred, once the blood is in the Bowman's capsule, it is drained from the Bowman's capsule is drained by this tube called the renal tubule. So the renal tubule is convoluted at 2 points. To be convoluted is to be intertwined, like here. So it is intertwined at here and here. The first intertwining here is called the first or proximal convoluted tube, and the second one is called the second or distal convoluted tube. Okay, so here where there is some convolution, there is a second process that occurs after ultrafiltration. This process is called selective reabsorption. So here is where some of the components that have been filtered are going to be taken back to be reabsorbed into the bloodstream. Okay, these components, I'm talking about water, I'm talking about mineral salts, and I'm talking about glucose. Okay, so during the first convoluted tubule, all the glucose is going to be taken back into the blood, all of it. Glucose is not part of urine, so here it's taken back into the blood. Okay, but urea is going to remain. Some of the water is going to be taken, some of the salt is going to be taken. Okay, so the processes by which these are taken back into the blood or into the surrounding tissues are glucose is taken through diffusion, water osmosis, mineral salts through active transport. Okay, so after that we go to the third process, which occurs here. So here, as you can see, there is no blood vessel, but there is a process called osmoregulation. So this part called the loop of Eno is surrounded by tissue cells. So here, whatever process happens is between the loop of Eno and the surrounding tissues. Okay, so what happens here? So what basically happens is facilitated by a hormone called ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. So this antidiuretic hormone, what it does is it monitors the amount of water in the body. If there's too much water in the body, what it's going to do is it's going to let the water inside here to continue and to be excreted as urine, so it won't be removed. Okay, normally if the water is not much in the body, it's going to take back this water into the body, into the surrounding tissues, so that this water it becomes part of the body instead of it being lost to the surrounding. So the ADH monitors the amount of water. If there's too much water, then the ADH won't do anything to make sure that this water is not absorbed back into the surrounding tissues. But if there's not much water, it's going to get back the water into the surrounding tissues, so that there's not much loss of water from the person. So that is what happens here on the loop of NO. The last stage is called secretion. So secretion is where now the collecting duct, this part here, the collecting duct receives of course it happens after the second convoluted tube. Yeah, so in short, there's the first selective reabsorption here, then osmoregulation, then again the selective reabsorption here, then the last part, which is the secretion. Okay, there are 4 stages, like I said: ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption, osmoregulation, and secretion. But this osmoregulation occurs, selective reabsorption occurs here and here at 2 different parts. Okay, so now to finish up, the secretion part just receives these waste products that have remained in this tube, the renal tube, and then it takes it away from the secretory system, that is to the bladder. So this is how a nephron functions. So in summary, 4 stages. First, ultrafiltration, which occurs in the Bowman's capsule. Second, there is a selective reabsorption, which occurs in the convoluted tube. Then third, there's osmoregulation, which occurs in the loop of NO, and finally there is secretion. But what is important is to know what is absorbed at what point and what is not absorbed at what point. So this marks the end of part 1. See you in part 2. Happy solving.